Hi, my name is Jania Massey, and you are watching Giving is Dope TV, a channel created for you, requested by you, and it's all about nonprofit and community. Hello everyone, and welcome to Giving is Dope TV. I am your host, Jania Massey, and I am the executive director and founder of PC Group 365. And today we are here doing one of our interviews with an amazing community leader. She is a dear friend of mine. I absolutely adore her, and she does so much for the community, and she's actually in the Charlotte community, and I wanted to do a really exclusive and inclusive interview with her. So I want to introduce you to my dear friend, Carrie Cook.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey, girl. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good. So thank you for being a part of Giving is Dope TV.
Yes. You're welcome.
I really want to start off with you just telling us about yourself, and more specifically your journey in community and all the things that you have been doing over the last, how long has Empower Her been around? Is it 10 years?
Empowerment started in 2011.
So yeah, a long time.
Yes.
Good boy. Yeah, so tell the audience about that, for those that don't know about you and everything that you do.
Okay. Everything. This is a lot. So I am a Charlotte native, and my journey with community is just, natural. It's just who I am. It's what I love to do is connect with people, empower people, connect resources, ideas, access, and just be inclusive in decision making and making sure that the community really is not it's not something that people are on the sidelines, but people are active participants of change. Mm-hmm. And so that's really kind of my story. That's what's led me to several different paths in the nonprofit sector. Mm-hmm. One of which, as you mentioned, is empowerment.
Yes.
And starting empowerment in 2011 with a small group of friends, and just the whole basis of starting empowerment. First of all, it did not start as a nonprofit. Right. We'll get to that part. Yeah. It started as just an initiative and a movement to empower girls and women to realize their full potential. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to do that by connecting girls with local women leaders, mm-hmm. because girls were looking on Instagram and Facebook and this place and Basketball Wives and this thing and that thing to find role models. But it's like, no, there are dope, amazing, educated, talented, mm-hmm. Just a variety of amazing women in our own backyard in the Charlotte community. And the data shows that middle school and high school girls report no connection to women leaders. Over 60% report that. And so that's more than half of our girls who are saying, I don't know a woman leader outside of my family. Right. And so that's a bridge that we can build, and we can connect girls with women leaders in a meaningful way for the mentoring and the talent development and the advocacy and the shared growth that empowerment provides.
So do you think by starting the movement, do you think it was more of a cultural thing that there was a lack of mentorship culturally, or do you think it's just overall for women in general or young ladies in general?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I think definitely for the culture, mm-hmm. and just recognizing that, they're just, and I'll tell you what I love, just over the last decade, I feel like there's just been this emergence of, Black women and brown women have always been brilliant, mm-hmm. but I think now there's this awakening of other folks mm-hmm. understanding our brilliance and right. realizing our brilliance, and us affirming,
and confirming.
And
it is real, yeah.
With each other and with others, like whether you affirm or confirm my brilliance, I'm showing up every day with it and authentically, and who I am and what I bring to the table. Mm-hmm. And so I just love that, it's for the culture, and we serve a diversity of girls. So it's not just Black and brown girls, it's any girl. Mm-hmm. But what we often don't see in nonprofits is the founder of organizations doesn't often look like the populations that are being served, particularly organizations that are very well funded.
Correct. So how would you describe a community leader?
Community leader. A community leader is somebody who's willing to just go and do the work. It's a servant at heart. That's first and foremost.
Right.
Somebody who, goes out and says, okay, this is my community. These are the issues in my community. These are the people in my community. Because you can't serve a people if you don't love a people. Sure. And so these are the people. These are the issues. I'm going to work in conjunction, in tandem with you or whoever else wants to raise their voice on this issue. And let's get work done. Not just raise your voice, but, my good friend used to always say, if you want to know where people are what their values are, what they're doing, what they're leading on, look at their calendar and look at their checkbook. So where you put your time and where you put your money, right? Where do you put your resources?
Right.
Is it supporting back into that community?
Right.
Am I shopping, on whatever site online, or am I going down to the local store that Miss Jones owns and supporting, a local business, right? And so there's so much that we can do as community leaders, but again, I think the heart of that is just servanthood and loving people.
Right. And I think something that we both have in common is that we created something that was a movement. It wasn't necessarily like, it needs to be a nonprofit.
Right.
But I do get the question a lot lately, like, do I need to have a nonprofit in order to be a community leader? And I'm like, those are two separate things. Like, why? And then sometimes I discourage people to start a nonprofit because of how intense it is. So I want you to share, because you an OG. I'm just
an OG.
You an OG, like, in this game, as far as creating something that is sustainable, because now you have moved on. You just known as the founder as of Empowerment.
Yes.
Now you have moved on. You've relinquished your executive director to someone else. So tell me about that process and everything that entails into that, because you really have built a business.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a nonprofit is. It is a business, right? It is a business with a mission, right? And so you're on a mission to go out and do the work, but in order to do the work, there has to be an element of sustainability. Right. And a lot of times we just get head down and we get focused on, whatever is coming today, as opposed to thinking strategically, thinking long term, thinking about. For our board, 2 years ago, we worked with a consultant, a sharp sister, who said, I can help you map out your 3-year horizon plan, right? What does your strategy look like for your organization over the next 3 years for empowerment to go to the next level? Right. And what does it take for, one of the things I was really worried about, to your point, is the key man risk, right? The risk of, if the organization does not have you, does it fall apart?
Right.
And I think part of
the concern.
It's an honest concern, right? And it's a part of it we have to take a step back too, and there has to be a degree of humility and a degree of going back to the why. If you started the work for the outcomes, then you don't have to be the leader of it. You don't. I mean, you can continue to work with and for the organization in different capacities. And so we recently hired an executive director, Tiffany Allen, for empowerment, and she's amazing. And I had been grooming her over a period of 2 to 3 years. She started in a contract role as the director of operations, but I knew, she's got a part of our mission as an organization is talent development. What we look like if we're not developing our own talent. We can't be out here developing the talent of the girls and the women in the community and not doing that internally as well.
Somebody take note of that, because a lot of people don't do that. They are so embedded in the movement or the process that they forget that it's legacy. Like what I'm building for me personally with my youth entrepreneurship program, it's legacy. So it is. I know that God is going to continue to pull me in other directions where I have to serve in another capacity, and I have to build it to where it's an infrastructure there. Right. But a lot of people don't want to do. I don't know where this is coming from.
It's crazy, because I actually was talking with a group of leaders from around the world last week at the International House. That the U.S. state delegation hosts them, and so these are young professionals from around the globe, Sudan, Ethiopia, Jordan, you name it. They were in there, represented Asia, Africa, Europe, etc. And they were talking about the exact same issue. They talked about how in their communities oftentimes, and I think it's just like we love a hero story or a shero story, right? So I think that's a part of the challenge, because we always want to like lift somebody up and herald them as the thing, as opposed to heralding the work as the thing and the solution as we should be lifting up the solution and like kind of decreasing ourselves and increasing.
Because that takes the pressure off of the person that is seen as the hero or the shero.
Right.
It's hard.
It's hard work, but it's also like, if we're serving for the right reasons, we don't need a whole lot of accolades and shine and this, that, and that. We just need the satisfaction of knowing that the change that we're seeking to make is actually happening. And if that's happening, then it should be enough for us to step back and take a look at things with a perspective that says, you know what, the change is happening. I don't have to hold it. When we birth a baby, right? You don't want to birth, like, I don't want that baby walking around on my hip all my life.
No.
Like, I want the baby at some point to go walk and talk on it. So like, go to kindergarten.
Right.
And so many of us want to hold our baby, like, let your baby go.
Right.
And let it flourish, because if you've raised your child with that strong foundation, similar to a nonprofit organization, if you've put, or a movement, whatever it is, the elements of building that long-term sustainability, if you've put those foundational pieces in place, then it will continue to move without you. And there's so many other amazing brains and talents that can put their stamp on it too,
and spin and take it to the next
level.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're now in a new season of your life. You're with Greenlight Fund.
Yes.
So tell me about what had you decide to move in that direction. Where were you at, and how do you feel about your decision now?
Yeah, I love it. I love the work that Greenlight Fund does to really invest in transformative nonprofits, right? So I was on the side of direct service, and still that is very much my heart, and it's what I do. But now I'm on the side of being more of a grant maker and investing in the organizations that are doing the work of filling critical unmet needs in the Charlotte community. And so that is really exciting. Would I do it all over again? Absolutely. I decided to transition because it was time for me to decide, okay, am I going to walk in a greater capacity with empowerment in terms of, being on the payroll there? Because I'd always been a volunteer. I've never been paid from the organization I started.
And that's another thing. When you start stuff, you do not get paid. Like, especially when you start a nonprofit, like, you have to pay out so much money.
Listen,
it's a process.
In the Army, there's a saying, it's called the troops eat first.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing if you are starting a business, if you're starting a nonprofit, the troops eat first. So the people that I'm bringing onto the team, I got to make sure they're taken care of first, because they're the first line of defense. And they're the ones who are, if we fill their cup up, they're filling up the cup of our community, and they're doing the services, and they're continuing to build our team up, right? So before I ever took a salary, and I never have and probably won't in the foreseeable future, was to bring on team members, bring on interns, bring on contract staff, and now bring on our executive director.
Okay. So with Greenlight Fund, you decided to shift in this position.
Yes.
You love it.
I love it because, again, we're on the side of evaluating the rigor, the method, the metrics of nonprofits. A lot of times, there's kind of like a paternalistic sense of who gets funded and why they get funded. And it's like, oh, I know, so-and-so from way back, or that's so-and-so's child who has started this thing. And, his dad and my dad used to golf together, and so let's fund it. And it's like, let's fund things that are working, and let's fund things that really have transformative impact and outcomes, and let's make sure that we can really see the return on investment that we're looking to have. And so the Greenlight methodology and the process in which we sort of go through the 5-step rigor of really evaluating an organization and then deciding to make an investment in them is powerful. And when you see something in the private sector that works, if there's a good idea, it's going to get knocked off in different markets, or it's going to spread, or whatever, right? It's really going to be transient and move. In the nonprofit sector, that doesn't happen, and we keep reinventing the wheel time after time after time.
So why do you think that, though?
Well, I think a part of what Greenlight is exploring and a part of what I'm learning is that you have communities where there's a need and you have communities where there may be a solution to that need, but they don't know that each other exists because the one community is head down looking at the need, the other community is head down working on the solution, but there's not a vehicle that sort of says, hey, you have something, there's not this catalyst or this collective impact framework that says, hey, there's this over here and there's this over here. What if we put this resource with this need and put that proven model together instead of having this community over here pilot something out and then after 5 years say, well, that didn't work.
Right.
You got a proven model here. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a copycat if you find the right cat to copy.
Right. And then it's not really copying because the solution is something way bigger than you.
Take the solution. And if that is the right fit and impact, if it reaches the audience and has the demographics and has the things that you're looking for, implement a proven model that has the data and the outcomes that you're looking for instead of, starting from scratch and trying to reinvent the wheel. It just saves us all a lot of time and money. And also, the biggest thing is we get to the heart of the work and get the impact that we're looking for.
Right. So if you had someone come to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about starting a nonprofit organization, what would you say?
Why?
Okay. Why you want to do this? And then what would you say?
Not why in a negative way, but
like
you
why?
Always have to start with why. Why is it that you want to start a nonprofit? Is it because there is an unmet need that you have a new solution that it's going to address? If so, then let's explore it further. But a lot of people will say, hey, I want to do this. And I'll say, well, what have you done to sort of asset map that or look and see who's doing something similar or something with that population in the community? What leaders have you talked to in this space? What are you understanding about the issue? Blank stares. And it's just like, wait a minute. If you're gonna tackle this thing, before you go out and tackle this thing, it's just like cooking, right? You need to know the ingredients. And if you haven't looked to see how the population is impacted, who else is doing the work, who are the leaders in this space, how you can work with people to impact this area, then, you got to take a step back. And there's a lot of passion out there, which is amazing.
Right.
Like, passion drives so many great outcomes. But also, the passion has to be combined with strategy before you take action.
Right. So let's go back to, you said you wasn't on payroll when you were doing empowerment as the executive director.
Right.
What is your take upon people that kind of frown upon salaries for certain people that are in higher positions in the nonprofit world? What do you think that's validated, or do you think that's just a load of BS? Like, because I read a book called Charity Case. I cannot remember who the author was.
Yeah,
he's popular though. But it was basically talking about, like, justifying why people should get paid what they get paid. Like, no one should be upset if someone gets a 6-figure salary or more if they're bringing in $1 billion worth of revenue for the nonprofit organization. So I wanted to get your take. And I also remember a story in I think it was Charlotte Agenda, and it kind of showed everybody that was in a higher nonprofit salary.
And their salaries.
Like, is that invasive? Like, I know it's public information for nonprofit, but I'm like, wait, it was just weird to see that for the nonprofit part of it. So I'm just curious of your opinion.
I mean, I think that we're in a competitive market for talent, right? This is a highly competitive market, and you want to have people who can really drive out the work, whether you're for-profit, non-profit, something in between, whatever entity you are, who the people who are running it. Now, do I think we need to be, living high on the hog? No, but do I think people should be compensated well for the marketplace and the skill set that they bring and the things that they're doing? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think a lot of people hear the terminology nonprofit and assume it's free. You can't assume things are free. Assume there's no business model or strategy. Assume that people are not getting paid well. Assume that, just so many assumptions. And again, a nonprofit, the word nonprofit means that you're still an entity. Your goal is not to make profit. Your goal is to make and create change. change, right? But you still have to operate
Right.
like a business. And so when you have people who have business acumen, or when you have people who have different skill sets, then you want to make sure that those people are retained. You want to, first of all, be able to attract people to the industry, right? And so if your pay is here, but you're looking for talent that has a skill set and, a really, really good track record of working at a level where they're compensated here, how do you meet them in the middle so that you can bring them, first of all, attract them, and then retain them in the organization? So I definitely think there should be some limits, right? We shouldn't be, again, running off with, unlimited amounts of cash as nonprofit folks, because I do believe that cash should be, reinvested into communities and the programs we serve. But again, you want to retain talent, and that costs money.
That costs money. Lifestyle costs money.
It costs money.
Yeah. So before we end, I think this was awesome. Thank you again. I want to play a little game.
Okay. Uh-oh.
So it's a nonprofit game, and I basically would give you two options, and you have to tell me which option you would take. It has to be this or that. Okay. So would you rather have an increase in the amount of people that participates in your programs, or funding for the rest of your life for that program? Would you have to have all the people there? So if you have like 1,000 kids that's benefiting from empowerment consistently, or would you rather have a lifetime commitment of funding? You have to choose.
That's tough, but I would say the lifetime commitment of funding, because with that in place, we can increase the number of
strategy.
I'm going with strategy. Look, if I have the resources, I can deploy the resources in a way that allows us to scale effectively and reach the number of folks we want to reach. But again, the funds have to be unrestricted, right? I want to make sure those funds are not, hey, you have to do this with the money. If it's unrestricted funds for a lifetime, I'll take it and we'll put that to work.
Okay, so next, this or that. Would you rather be a founder only or an executive director only? Which role would you like to take?
I would like to be both at different times.
Oh gosh, clearly you have it both.
Both at different times.
But why though?
Because there's something something about birthing a baby, right? Like there's something about being a founder and knowing that this vision that you feel like was uniquely gifted to you to bring into fruition, that it's coming to fruition, and that it's, sustaining, and that the work is happening. There's nothing like that. It's literally just an out-of-body experience, and God is so good in order to give. I mean, there's like this degree of like, Lord, you trust me for this vision? Like, thank you. So that is beautiful. But then the executive director, I mean, you just run, you running the day-to-day, the delegating, building teams, which I love. I love finding everybody's talent and strength. Like, oh, I know Jania is really good at this. She's great at that. Her leadership style is this. She would work good with these people. So building and managing projects and supporting people, those are things I love too, which is why the executive director role is dope.
It's dope. So if you had to choose between two different nonprofit organizations, if you had to choose between the Foundation of the Carolinas and Greenlight, I know you're going to choose Greenlight. You have to choose Greenlight. But I think that both of them offers a skill set of funding for community, even though they go about it in two different approaches.
Right.
So I ask you that is because I'm starting to see more of a shift of a model, even when Knight's Foundation came into play here in Charlotte. So I'm starting to see more of a shift of where people are like, okay, we need to create the funds and then find the people to put the funds into their hands to help them delegate it. So do you think going with that model is something that's going to be sustainable? Is that the new wave of nonprofit, or do you feel like people need to continue to choose between how they're going to delegate their money? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I think I'm following the question.
And like it's a shift in nonprofit to me, And
Definitely.
I feel like you have people that have fun. I mean, I understand the foundations of the Carolinas. I think it's pretty cool. They've been around for a long time.
Right.
How they funnel in funding.
Right.
But I also think that Knight Foundation and maybe Greenlight, I don't know how long Greenlight has been around, but I feel like it's more of a new age now. So knowing you would pick Greenlight because you work for them.
Yes.
But from outside looking in, which funding model do you think is best suited for the shift of the world now?
Well, I think it's a combination, actually, because the Foundation for the Carolinas is one of the people who supports the Greenlight Fund. So Foundation for the Carolinas, as they're delegating their donor-advised funds and their assets that they hold and the people who are donating to them so that they can then support the community, organizations like Greenlight Fund come in and sort of provide this very strategic, operational way in which to deploy those dollars and resources from the foundation or from some other donor or supporter, right? So that philanthropy has a really strategic approach to how resources get dispersed in the community and how issues get tackled in the community. So I really think you need both. You need somebody who's really good at the asset management, at housing the donor advised fund, at housing different scholarship funds, etc. And you also, Greenlight is sort of that new wave, and it's sort of that intermediary that's saying, okay, let's not just throw resources and see what sticks.
Right.
Let's take the resources that we have and strategically look at different issue areas and then say, hey, this partner in the community is tackling this issue area really well. Let's support that. This issue area in the community has a lot of unmet need. Let's figure out how to build that up. But when you have like a Greenlight in a community, and we started in 2004, we're in 6 cities now, we'll continue to expand. When you have that type of presence in a community, it helps to make sure resources are being deployed in a really strategic and sustainable way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next question. This or that.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you 2 philanthropists, well-known philanthropist name, but you can only pick one that you can work with.
Okay.
So Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
And Michelle Obama.
Ooh.
Only pick one.
My heart. I would pick Michelle Obama because Michelle Obama has an experience and a knowledge and the contacts to draw people like Oprah in. And Oprah
Why
has
your answers
this
keep pulling into people?
No, because it's real, right? Oprah is amazing, and she's a business icon, which almost made me pick Oprah. But Michelle Obama has just this like, you know, my background started in politics, so has this advocacy, has this knowledge, has this street smarts, has this book smarts, has this sophistication that I'm like, to work with her would be just.
So you would go to Chicago.
I would go to the Chi, get right information, and me and Shelly would be slaying out here in these streets, honey. We would be serving and slaying. Okay?
Well, then the reason why I picked, because Oprah, I mean, clearly she has a heart for the girls. You know, that school in Africa. And I know that's not the same, but it's similar to empowerment.
Yes.
And Michelle, I knew your advocacy background, so I was like, let me pick 2 people that are from.
That was really hard, and the thing is, when I met Michelle Obama, you know, one of the things that she actually said was, you know, keep doing what you're doing, don't give up in terms of continuing to build community. And it was just like this moment and this time that we shared, you know, a few years ago, that I was just like, working with her on a regular basis would be cool. Amazing. And I'd be like, can you call up Sister O so that we can all sit I mean, right. So either one,
the Oprah tea to be specific.
Either one, you cannot go wrong.
Right.
You can't go wrong.
So I want to end this with your favorite quote. And it doesn't have to be nonprofit related. It could be just something that you seem to think about, or something that comes to mind when you're in this fight daily, which is a fight, but it's a good fight. It's a TKO.
It's an amazing fight.
Yeah.
I don't know about my favorite quotes. It's funny because somebody was asking about this earlier, and you know, I'm like the type of person you just gotta, Nike almost sums it up perfectly. Just do it. Like, just get out here and go do it. But, you know, I'm inspired by faith and fortitude and the word of God. Like, fall, you know, even philosophers who say things like fall down 7 times, get up 8. Like, I'm just inspired by any words that remind us of the resiliency and the power that we possess inside that oftentimes gets trapped within because we don't unleash and walk into the fullness of what that we're afraid. Like, you know, we're operating from our fearful self and not our powerful self. And so I'm of the mindset, just get out here and do it. Pray about it, put a plan together, and let's go get it. Like, I just don't, I try not to live in fear. And so my quote, you know, it's funny, my quote is probably what's on my voicemail, which is, are you smiling?
Oh yeah, you do say that. Like, what am I?
Yeah. But you gotta think about it. And then it forces you to not only think about it, but if you're not smiling, it's like, why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Why are you not out here appreciating every single thing about your existence and the existence around you, even when it gets hard? Push through. Smile.
Well, there you have it. Are you smiling? So thank you, Carrie. You dropped some amazing nuggets in. I cannot wait to share this. So I appreciate it. Let's get it is what the quote is. Let's get it.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's it for Giving This Dope TV. We'll see you next time. Peace out. Peace. You can find me at www.pcgroup365.com. You can also find me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at pcgroup365.com. Also, when you go to my website, make sure you subscribe. We have so much goodies in store for you.